guys, welcome back to Astrea's Broken Heart, and I've waited long enough. I'm ready to start season 2. I'm so excited. I'm excited to get into it. The little tagline thing said that it's time to get to know each other a little better, so I'm hoping that there's finally some talk about them being definitely supernatural, so we can see how our girl does with that. So that should certainly be interesting. And if you see a little balloon hanging around in the background, it was my birthday last week, so my daughter got me that balloon. So yeah, we continue on. Returning home. The season finale was absolutely wild. I was severely disturbed. I didn't even know what to think. It was a lot. It was a lot. Melody could have sworn she felt her soul leave her body. It rose above the inferno that unfolded beneath her feet and headed upward. But there was no release from the piercing pain. The path to paradise was agonizing. Something seemed to be holding her soul, gripping it with rather sharp claws, dragging it down and tearing it apart. But still, her soul desperately pushed forward, cutting through the icy, bone-chilling wind. Yeah, I forgot we were in quite the state. However, in this seemingly final battle, Melody was not alone. Someone's quiet, anxious whisper kept her drifting consciousness on the surface and would not let her soul give up and fall, and Melody held onto it with all her might. She tried to ignore the smell of blood and burning that enveloped her body, as she thought instead of how paradise smelled of freshness and of meadow and a meadow of flowers. We made it back, guys. Raphael flew through the window into the bedroom. He gently laid the limp body on the bed and rushed into the hallway. His cry for help was directed only at Mikkel, but the call, unfamiliar to the walls of Astrea, was answered by all the inhabitants of the house. They're like, wait, what? Why are you so crazy coming in here? What's going on? They crowded around the evaluator's bed and allowed themselves to be confused for a moment. Oh, I look so upset. Mikkel was the first to pull himself together. All his questions were lost in his primary task, saving her. Everything else ceased to matter. Mikkel sat on the bed at the edge of the bed, just as he had the first time after Silent Grove. He took her bloody hand in his and closed his eyes. As soon as Mikkel finally touched her hand, the others immediately snapped out of their stupor. Castiel's voice was the first to break through the tense atmosphere. What happened? Castiel was choked with pity for the dying Melody. He could barely find the words. How did this happen? Still reeling from the experience, Raphael responded in a voice that trembled with anger. They wanted to sacrifice her to the beast. Her friend Ruth turned out to be connected to the cult. How can we help anyone if we couldn't protect her? David covered his face with his hands in frustration, angry at himself and his colleagues. He lowered them only after a long moment that dragged on and on. It was as if he was trying to pull himself together. What good are we if we let this happen? The hum of anxious conversation was interrupted by a heavy and unusually nervous voice. Everybody out. Out of habit, no one questioned the boss's orders. They were never given out of mere whim or annoyance. All three employees looked at Melody with eyes full of emotion. Then, they disappeared behind the door. Once alone with the dying woman, Mikkel allowed himself a sigh. His chest heaved with the effort. His next sentence held a weight that he wanted to share with everyone, but didn't dare to. I can't hear her. If any of his colleagues could see Mikkel now, they would be able to easily read all of his thoughts. They were reflected so clearly in his face. The mask of composure had fallen, bearing his soul. Read his thoughts. Don't read his thoughts. Read. When Melody's blood was filled with poison from the waters of Silent Grove, healing her was easy. Michaela... Is it thundering outside? Michaela found a faint pulse, then held her thin wrist for no more than a minute. And just like that, her exhausted heart beat more steadily. Michaela had not only cleansed her blood, but also taken away the evaluator's chronic headaches. It was almost too easy. That day, Michaela was much more worried about the conversation that awaited them afterward. What was he supposed to say to make Melody believe in her sudden recovery? The red eyes again. This time, the thought of what he would say when she woke up didn't even cross his mind. It simply didn't matter. Michaela tried to find a pulse, to grab hold of the life that was rapidly leaving her body, but he couldn't. Her heart wasn't beating, and his was about to stop from grief. Melody. Michaela let go of her hand and leaned forward. He rested his palm on her delicate neck. How he'd wanted to touch her that evening at the hotel. How he wanted to run his fingertips over her soft skin. How he wished he could touch her, but not now. Not when there was no life beneath his fingers. Please, hear my voice, Melody. For a moment, he thought he could feel her soul stir. Michaela grasped the movement and focused on his power. He let it grow. It passed through her skin and filled her lifeless body. Don't leave. Usually, a single touch was enough for Michaela to heal others. But souls caught between life and death made their own choices without asking what he wanted. Michaela brushed a bloody strand of hair from her face and ran his hand over the ugly cut. He tried to stifle his growing hatred for the person who had done this. That feeling doesn't belong here. Not now. But the emotions that usually obeyed him so easily were taken over now. I shouldn't be thinking about this now. But he was. He couldn't help but imagine himself tearing apart those who dared to harm her, and these thoughts interfered with his ability to maintain the necessary composure, so he concentrated on the feelings he had for her, the barely budding ones that had been so easy to dismiss even earlier that day, a quivering flame that suddenly burned bright with the fear of losing her forever. You were sent to us for a reason, Melody. I don't believe that you're just another cruel test created by him. Who is him, I wonder? Sheffa or Sheffa Malum? Mikhail gritted his teeth. He was unaccustomed to condemning his father's decisions, but he did not retract his words. Sheffa, then? That's what I immediately thought, but... like, let me try to be nice today, but we all know how I feel about Sheffa, okay? You were meant to be our salvation, and we were meant to be yours. Mikhail stroked her hair and whispered as if in prayer, Please, give me a chance to make things right. Stay. The cut on her face was the first to respond to his call. It slowly began to heal. Then Mikhail felt the first beat of her heart. He couldn't resist gently wrapping his arms around her and pulling her close, ignoring the blood. He embraced her and continued to stroke her hair. He barely breathed himself, he just listened to her soft breathing. And only after several long minutes of bliss did she stir in his arms. Only then could he break the embrace. There were no more wounds on her body, but he knew for certain that they remained on her soul. I'm sorry, Melody, but healing souls is beyond my power. Mikhail gently laid her back down on the bed and touched her hand again. He found her pulse and paused. Mikhail listened to the beating of her heart as if under a spell. He felt his own finally calming. Only the growing noise in the hallway made him let go of her and stand up. Made Mikhail think about many things. Raphael entered the room. He silently approached the bed and looked at Mikhail. We need to get her changed. She mustn't wake up in this. It's Filoni gonna come. As if sensing the presence of another, Melody's eyelids trembled and her fingers clenched the blanket. Her face contorted in fear and she began to thrash on the bed. Raphael wasn't sure how to react. He tried to look to Mikhail for answers. Didn't you help her? The nature of this attack is emotional. What did she see? She saw me. Mikhail made no effort to hide his anger. He turned away and fell silent. Raphael himself knew how bad this was. She was clearly not prepared for this. It wasn't supposed to happen so soon. Maybe she'll forget? Only if you want to erase her memory. Melody was plagued by nightmares. Recent events refused to leave her mind. They became distorted, more vivid, more cruel. The wounds that had disappeared from her body refused to let her forget about them. They made themselves known with phantom pains as she clenched her teeth. Choking with fear, Melody screamed and opened her eyes. Don't touch me! Melody. Clearly not fully aware of where she was, she pressed her back against the headboard. She pulled her legs up as if afraid that imaginary monsters would grab her ankles and drag her back to the ritual fire. Her eyes were filled with an animal fear that prevented her from thinking clearly. Melody, you're home. You're safe. The image of the sweet man was overshadowed by something she couldn't explain. The wings, the blinding light, his cruelty. Melody interpreted his step toward her as a direct threat. She held out her trembling hands in defense. What they want from me? Scream, beg, or freeze in fear? Usually freezing is not a good choice in most stories. Screaming is kind of like a fight, so that might be, wait, what are the two options? I've already forgotten. Oh no. I'm rusty. What are the two options? Oh no. Is it faith and something about not believing or something? I think we go back. Please don't come near me. Faith, okay. I still forget what the other one was, but it's okay. I'll figure it out. The whole world seemed foreign and incomprehensible to her. The men seemed like the monster that had dragged her into it. With every breath she took, her hysteria grew. It threatened to explode and erupt into a nervous breakdown. Her gaze fell on torn, bloodied sleeves, reminding her that the nightmare was real. But there were no more wounds on her skin. This is some kind of madness. And suddenly her clothes are clean. Raphael took another step, then froze. The terror on her face nailed him to the spot. He realized that the woman was too afraid to even look at him. The thought cut painfully through his heart. Oh. Melody, I saved you. I'm not trying to hurt you. Melody ran her fingers through her hair and curled up in a ball. When she looked at Raphael, she could clearly see the glow, see the wings. They disappeared and reappeared. Or perhaps the ordeal had seared itself so deeply into her memory that reality had permanently fused with fantasy. Her brain refused to process the information. Her mind was taut as a string. It seemed that at any moment it would snap and insanity would flood her body. Go away. Get away from me. She's not ready for this, Raphael. The words sounded like an order. Raphael pressed his lips together and moved toward Melody. Ignoring her screams and pleas, he took her hand by the hand. He winced as if the touch caused him physical pain. You'll forget this, Melody. You'll feel better. Please don't touch me. Please don't. Melody whimpered softly and tried to pull away, but Raphael was much stronger. Is he going to wipe her memories? Raphael closed his eyes and found himself in her memories. He began to sift through the blurry images of her past, trying to ignore the feelings that were not meant for him. But he still stumbled when he felt her crushing loneliness. It had followed her from her parents' home to Astrea's doorstep, and here, unexpectedly for her, it began to dissolve into hope. His conscience pushed him from the place he had so treacherously invaded. Pressing his lips together, Raphael ran through her memory a little faster. Finally, he reached a church that had filled her with unspeakable horror. He saw himself through her eyes. He saw the monster that hovered beneath the high arches and scorched mere mortals with white light. He tried to erase the memory as gently as possible. Hey, I'm erasing my memories. She's a tough girl. She can get through it. She just needs some time. Like, I know it hurts to hear her disparage you, but, like, y'all can talk through it. The struggle lasted no more than a few seconds. Melody fell silent, closed her eyes, and fell asleep. I hope we're doing the right thing. I don't think you are. I don't like it. I really don't. But you made that a choice. Nobody told you that you had to. He was like, you know, because like she's not ready, but like this is what you can expect if you don't erase her memory. So, you know, it's your choice there. Raphael clenched his fist. He closed his eyes as if to erase what he had seen from his own memory. He wanted to rip the skin off the hands that dared to hurt her. He was sickened by what he had to do. He was sickened by himself. But most of all, he was tormented by the new feelings that Melody now had for him. Her mind would have broken. She needs time. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I know she needs time. I wish they would have given her time without just snatching the memories from her. Raphael said nothing. He left the room. I wonder if the dialogue is slightly different if you're on the Raphael path. Now we all have to act differently. I don't like that either. Mikhail processed the unpleasant scene. He too did not recover right away. After a few minutes, he called Filoni and asked her to come over. The evaluator had been through so much stress. She needed to be prepared for her awakening. He realized that there was nothing more for him to do here, but he stayed anyway. He stood frozen next to Melody, hesitant to approach. Another strand of her hair fell across her peaceful face. This time, Mikhail didn't let himself brush it away. After the horror with which Melody had looked at him, touching her seemed like a crime. I'm so sorry, Melody. I'm so sorry. Mikhail stood there for a little while longer, then stepped out into the hallway. He needed to gather his thoughts. After everything Raphael had done, it was only a matter of time before the higher-ups came down to Astrea. Yeah. They're not really allowed to reveal themselves, first of all, and then he used like a bunch of power in front of a bunch of mortals. That's touchy. I'm gonna try to go check on Raphael's scene now, I think. Yeah. Oh, here it is. He realized that the woman he had just kissed was now afraid to even look at him. The thought cut painfully through his heart. Who does she see in me now? Oh, wow. He looks absolutely haunted. Oh, that's painful to look at. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's different. Oh, so he did kind of give the order. Rubber parcels left together and moved toward Melody. Oh! Unable to resist, Raphael peeked into the sitting room. He felt the tenderness with which she secretly watched him. He felt all the words she kept inside, the ones she didn't dare say out loud. Her tender thoughts made his heart ache. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, just a few extra lines, but yeah, those lines are pretty meaningful. Okay, so that's interesting. So that has a little bit more depth if you're romancing Raphael there. I thought that it might, so I'm glad I went and checked that. Okay. I wonder if any of the others have something going on. I don't know, let's keep reading for now. Let's see. Mikhail sat down by the statue. He let his shoulders slump. now I'm trying to wonder if we should switch back over to Mikkel's. Wait, there it is. I'm sorry that I haven't come to see you in a while. The weight of his decisions pressed down on him, making it hard to focus. He needed to come up with a justification for Raphael's actions. But more than anything, he just wanted to sit there and not have to think. Sometimes it feels like everything is against us and the end is predetermined. And all of our struggles are just a farce, and we were only created to make it more interesting to watch. The garden refused to listen to his blasphemous words. The dense canopies above his head rustled indignantly as a wind arose. A distant rumble of thunder promised rain for the green of the garden. Solitude brought no relief, nor did it bring a solution to the brewing problem. Astrea remained silent, not wanting to be involved, and it was hardly something she could be blamed for. I hope we don't do anything else foolish. Mikkel rose from the bench and walked toward the house. He had a long night ahead of him. Before he could lose himself in his thoughts, he had to wait for Felonia, and to tell her that there had been a slight change in plans. Eh? Melody woke up in a river in the middle of a dead forest. She stood knee-deep in the murky water. She trembled and gulped the icy air with numb lips. Shh, quiet phone. Hey! What the hell? She tried to reach the shore, but none of her movements brought her any closer. Her feet were stuck in the soft mud and every step was difficult. What have they done to you, poor little mouse? They so shamelessly rearrange things in your head. Melody tried to find the source of the voice. It sounded very close, like it was coming from somewhere inside her. Maybe it is. Did you trust them so much that you opened the doors yourself? Who's there? It's time to get out, Melody. She couldn't take another step. The soft ground pulled her in deeper. The water rose above her knees. I can't. Maybe you don't want to? Have you become so attached to Astrea? To Astrea? All that mattered to Melody at the moment was the river and the rising water. Let me show you their true faces, shall I? Melody didn't understand what the agency had to do with her immediate problems. She became more and more nervous. Is this really the right time for this? How marvelous. Which colleague would you like to hear about? This is Raphael's one? Ah, Raphael. He's mine, Melody. Hands off. Is this Sheppa? He has my gift hidden within him, a gift his father is so eager to pass on. He tore open his chest, placed the message inside, and hastily stitched it back up. No wonder Raphael's heart is always bleeding, isn't it? His father could have found other options, but he chose this one. A truly exemplary form of cruelty is worthy of admiration. Raphael has his own will. Whatever you say, but his heart is occupied, little one. Of course, you can brighten his last moments of life, but be careful that you don't lose your own heart in the end. Oh, and mind your eyes when you look at him. The mocking phrase seemed to remind her of something, but the thought quickly slipped away. Can I just ask about everybody? I'm very confused. I'm very confused. Do I just keep asking? I don't know. Hold on. Give me a second. Wait. I switched over to David Sayfox. I'm like, wait. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to get this together. Okay. But yeah, I just found something new while I was clicking through. They kept laughing at him. They told him that he would soon lose his life's newfound joy. He would lose it because he dared to reject his nature and let fate take over. Because he decided that he was capable of achieving what he wanted on his own. Because he ignored everything that was meant for him. David sat motionless next to the bed. He tried to find hope in Mikhail's frozen face, but the boss only tightened his grip on Melody's hand. The demons won, and David's eyes filled with blood. Driven by their voices, he rushed to the door. Where was she? David pinned Raphael against the wall and stared intently into his eyes. Is this what matters now? The hum of anxious conversation was interrupted by a heavy and unusually nervous voice. Everybody out. Okay. See if I find anything else. Missing. He bumped into a bloody David who was on his way to her. This was Mikhail leaving the room after everything with Raphael erasing her memories. There's a scene here. Okay, so now I gotta check on all of the scenes. I'm pretty sure Felonia won't have one because she's not here yet. But I gotta check for Cassiel's scene. I'm pretty sure he has one. So we'll see what else happened there. Okay. It was too difficult to ignore his appearance. Where have you been? Mikhail had to block the agitated young man's path to stop him. David was breathing heavily, as if he'd just gone for a run. He froze and didn't respond immediately. In that damned village. What'd you do? The bloodsters that David had made little attempt to learn what had happened from the villagers. The boss's eyes twitched. He barely restrained himself from grabbing David by the collar. He desperately wanted to knock some sense back into his employee. And what did you do? Did you show everyone what you're capable of? Oh, you have no idea what I'm capable of. The anger inside David spread through his body like molten lava. He wanted to let it out, to incinerate everything around him so that every living creature would share his pain. Hers and his. You'll end up in a cage like your father if you let your emotions overpower your sense of reason. There's always another way to get what you want, David. You don't have to act impulsively every time something goes wrong. Ooh. Like rumbling thunder, David's voice grew stronger. It changed from a hoarse whisper to an angry shout. Something goes wrong? Something went wrong when I decided to start a new life here, Mikhail. And those vile creatures dared to touch her. Her! The muscles in David's face twitched and his eyes filled with red. They spilled her blood. Everyone connected to the beast will pay me 100-fold for every drop of her blood they shed. This time, Michael had to close his eyes and take a deep breath to control his emotions. The impulsive young man's behavior had crossed the line, even for him. They revealed to Mikhail the true reason behind the horrible act. Maybe you do belong next to your father. Mikhail had to make an effort to make his voice sound normal. People will find out about this. I won't be able to hide what you've done. Let everyone find out, Mikhail. Let every creature on this earth know that what will happen if it touches someone who cannot be touched. You shouldn't be so attached to her. You're not the only one who cares about her, but you're the only one who allows himself to be so reckless. David couldn't be calmed down. The man seemed to have lost all control. You know who I am. Of course. I hope you also remember who she is and the chasm that exists between us. David didn't even want to think about it. He silently disappeared behind her bedroom door. Fear of losing you is driving David out of his mind. Mikhail hoped that Felonia would arrive before Melody woke up and threw a fit at David this time. He went downstairs. Okay. Last time it said after what Raphael had done. This time it says after everything his subordinates had done. So now both Raphael and David are in trouble. Oh my god! I love the subtle differences though. I love the subtle differences. I love going through and catching all of these because this is so cool. Let's see how the story is changing. Oh my gosh. I freaking love this so much. Oh, Cassiel's eyes just turned red. Cassiel Cassio barely resisted the urge to rush to the bed. He clenched his fist. The sight of the dying Melody was unbearably painful. He wanted to drive everyone away from her, to cover her, to hold her close. But he knew all too well that only Mikhail could help her now, and his own helplessness drove him crazy. Strange, unusual thoughts filled his head. He thought of the things he had so often felt the urge to tell her, but had never done. Of how much he wanted to share them with her now, ignoring the presence of others. His thought of how in just a few days she had managed to occupy a seemingly tiny place in his heart, and now it's being torn apart. Cassio choked on his emotions. He channeled the pain into anger out of habit. Raphael! Still reeling from the experience, Raphael responded in a voice that trembled with anger. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, this time, while Mikhail is sitting by the statue, he's hearing a bunch of, dull thuds and stuff. And so it said the sounds came from somewhere deep in the garden where Cassio liked to spend his time. Mikhail ignored the first heavy raindrops and moved toward the noise. It wasn't hard to find the source of the sound, for the blows never stopped. They only became louder and more furious. Cassio slashed through the air, furiously smashing everything in his path. Approach. Mikhail moved closer and tried to assess the extent of the destruction. Severed branches lay lifeless underfoot. The garden was losing its beauty with each passing second. Cassio. What? Don't mind me. Cassio froze with his sword raised. He was breathing heavily. The clouds echoed his fury and poured rain onto his face, mourning the destroyed trees. What are you doing? Cassio was clearly in no mood for conversation. He swung again. This time the blow hit a lantern. It flickered one last time, tilted, and then went out. You're hardly helping her by destroying your favorite garden. Unable to contain himself, Cassio screamed, I destroy everything I hold dear. Why did you bring her here? She doesn't belong here. Mikhail lifted his chin. He stood firm through all of Cassio's outburst. She's alive. And what happened today is not your fault. Cassio threw his sword aside and moved toward his boss. Of course, it's all our faults. We brought this fragile being into our home. We let her dive into these horrors as if her own fears weren't enough. She doesn't deserve this life, Mikhail. We should have protected her, not thrown her into the fire. Mikhail agreed with every word, but he couldn't afford to admit his own mistakes. Later, when this is all over, I'll beg everyone for forgiveness, but not now. The rain intensified as if trying to cool the heated atmosphere and blurred their vision. Mikhail thought of suggesting that they go inside, but the idea remained unspoken on his lips. Cassio spoke, now a little softer. I went to the prison. I tried to get information from the woman who attacked Harry. Mikhail knew he would regret asking, but he did it anyway. Did you ask Felonian to take you to the woman? No, I went on my own. Mikhail almost groaned. He closed his eyes. He let the heavy raindrops wash away his rising anger. Dude's just trying to go around putting out fires every which way. He's like, Raphael done went and turned into an angel in front of her. We had to erase her memories. David went and go slaughtered a bunch of people in the village because he's out of anger. This dude destroying a garden, went and exposed himself at the prison. Soon they will arrive, and I will have to fight for each of you. But if you were up to me, I'd throw you all out the door. That statement rings so true once you have the context of romancing all of them. Cassio ignored his boss and continued. She said nothing. There's emptiness inside her. It's all pointless. We're banging our heads against a wall, and Father is waiting for us to crack them open. I will not discuss his will with you. Of course. Let's continue to live as his spineless pawns. But I won't let you control her life anymore. The unexpected concern made Mikhail think. Is he that attached to a colleague, or are his old wounds speaking? I'm going to her. Don't. She's afraid of us. and your presence will only scare her more. Try as he might, Kelso could not contain his anger. His eyes blazed with fire. He wanted to tear everything apart. But more than anything, he wanted to hold her close. She deserves far better than the company of people like us. Perhaps. We'll sacrifice anything for you. Kelso picked up his sword from the ground. He left Mikhail alone with the now dead garden and walked into its depths. There was no point lingering. Mikhail turned away from the grim sight and walked back to the house. He had a long night ahead of him. But before he could lose himself in his thoughts, he had to wait for Felonia through a slight change in plans. Okay, and we're back here. Okay, so let's... Okay, let's just see what it says for Cassio, and then... Melody woke up in a river in the middle of a dead forest. She stood knee deep in the murky floors. God, nice to come. The heck? Stuck. So, do we think this is Chef Malam? Because the way he was talking to me was clearly not Shefa. I thought it might be at first. Because, like, who could give Shefa something so much that it could hurt him? And obviously this is before, you know, the Apocalypse kids came down. Okay. So about Cassio. Cassio, it would be glorious to have that knight on my side. It would be great to make him my lapdog, to have him serve me as he serves Mikhail, without much enthusiasm. Woe to the one he wants to save with all his heart. Perhaps it's because he was taught to kill and nothing else. Cassio isn't like that. Of course, you can open your arms to him if you're not afraid that he'll accidentally crush you. Rude? Okay. Well, David. There are more voices in his head than in all of your patients combined. 72 voices to be precise. Inherited from his father. Quite a legacy, isn't it? He's of sound mind. You like complicated guys, don't you? You won't get bored with him. Though you might have to sleep with a dagger under your pillow. You never know whose eyes he'll be looking at you with in the morning, right? What is his voice trying to achieve? Yeah, what is he trying to achieve? I don't understand. Because, I mean, he's trying to clearly get me away from Astrea, but from what purpose? Okay, go Mikhail. Mikhail. Honest and fair. Do you know what his right and wrong decisions are measured by? Bodies. No one is as cold-blooded in their calculations as Mikhail. To him, lives are just numbers in a report. He's not like that. He's a little bit like that. You gotta admit. Come on. Really? Or maybe you just learn to sit on the throne with him in the finale. What's up with the fourth wall break there? Does the pile of corpses beneath your feet not bother you? Sweet little mouse, are you that eager to become something greater in this world? To hell with the fact that the stairs to the top will be built from bones, right? What nonsense. I'm starting to get the feel like we can just kind of talk to about anybody. I don't think this, does particularly anything. Anyway, enough talk. They must be waiting for you. Waiting? Where? Isn't this a dream? A reality? Ooh. Would it be skeptic to say a dream, or is it skeptic to say a reality? God, it should be fake to say this is reality, right? Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out. It's a dream, Melody. But I'm closer than you think. Okay. Those men are playing unfairly. That's why I'm here. And that's why I want you to see how much blood is on their hands. The river bubbled slowly. Look, Melody. Look. The murky water turned blood red. Her nose was struck by a metallic smell mixed with the stench of decay. The river froth overflowed, engulfed. The mud underfoot became flesh and clinging fingers. They dragged Melody under, clutching at her clothes. On the surface of the river, Melody saw faces distorted with horror. Some of them seemed familiar. They tore open their own mouths in desperate screams, reaching for her, trying to escape the current. But the rushing current held them all back, preventing them from leaving their final abode. Oh God. Melody tried to break for the shore with the last ounce of her strength. She almost fell, but failed to move an inch. No. Stay where you are, Melody. Look who you allowed to fool you. Look and listen. I want everything they have done to finally catch up with them. No one believes in them anymore because they've lost faith themselves. Let the blood spill from the riverbanks and flood the sky. Let them all drown in it, Melody. They've turned our world into a dying creature. Our world? Is this Malik? Its belly has been ripped open and it writhes in pain. All of its entrails have spilled out onto the ground and have long since rotted. It's time to finally show mercy and put an end to this creature. And make way for a new one. For a new world. It's a cold crap. Get out of here. Go away. The sky above her howled and the burning stars began to fall to the ground. And as Melody watched in horror, the bloody water closed over her head. Her awakening was too sudden and too painful. Melody gasped and coughed. She does not get a break. For the first minute, she fought off invisible hands and tangled herself in the blanket. And then she froze, paralyzed with fear. It was a dream. Just a dream. There was a metallic taste in her mouth. A throbbing headache swelled in her skull. Images had plagued her mind in nightmares all night long. They still flickered before her eyes. She dreamed of the beast and its followers. Alive and dead, blind and seeing, they all tried to drag her to the riverbed. And she also dreamed of her colleagues. Raphael, cruel and ruthless, burning everyone in his path. David with wild, fiery eyes and dozens of creatures behind him. Speaking of, I've been looking at the intro title card thing a couple times as I'm going through this whole thing, and it's cool. Like, as the light pans over them, their image changes, and you show different things. Like, David has a little shadow behind him, I assume maybe of his darker self or of his father. Raphael's lights up kind of like in a halo bit. Cassiel and Filoni are kind of covered in blood, and Filonius one looks a little like a succubus-like, but Malik's and Mikkel's don't change. It's interesting. Cassiel in plated armor and knee-deep in blood, holding giant fanged dogs on a chain, and Mikkel, seated proudly atop a mountain of corpses. How did I end up home? What happened? Melody felt as if she had been gutted, leaving a huge bleeding wound inside of her. The last thing she remembered was Ruth's faint smile and their quiet walk to her village. And then a looming void. They erased all of that? Black and bottomless. That's too much to erase. I thought he just wiped out who saved her. What's the point of wiping out? I mean, I guess because you try to have less trauma, but like, it's kind of imprinted on her subconscious and soul. Like, that's not something that you can just easily, and it's gonna make her feel more crazy when she's like, I know something has happened. There's a reason that I'm feeling this way. I'm having this like PTSD, basically, and you know, but so far in her memory, she can't remember anything. That's too much. Some horrible things had happened to them and were now buried in that pit. She knew that for sure. Something happened. Something terrible. And my memory is protecting me. and my colleagues are hiding something, and the dream is trying to tell me what happened. Ooh, what do I say? I feel like my colleagues are hiding something is skeptic, but I also kind of feel like my memory is protecting me is also skeptic. Because skeptic definitely wouldn't be the last one. That sounds more like faith. Oh, but faith is also believing in your colleague's side. I don't think it will be the second one. I think we should go with, and the dream is trying to tell me what happened. I think. It wasn't just a dream. It had fragments of my lost memories, as if someone is trying to open my eyes. Some kind of veil seemed to have fallen from her overnight. It had once shielded her from unnecessary questions. Now she was so very afraid. All her thoughts were consumed by one single desire, to hide. Melody was trembling all over. She stared blankly at the wall and tried to remember something. Anything. What scared me so much? When the door handle slowly turned, she realized that she was afraid of the inhabitants of this house. Melody? Melody exhaled nervously and raggedly, barely holding back tears. Fel, it's you. Felonia quietly closed the door behind her. She looked worriedly at the evaluator. Wait. I'm on Mikhail's path. I feel like I want to do this on Felonia's to see if there's anything new. Okay. We're back. Melody. So back to tears. Follow to you. Felonia quietly closed the door behind her. She looked worriedly at the evaluator. How are you? I don't remember how I got here. I was with Ruth and then everything is cut off. I'm trying to remember what happened, but my mind is full of wild images as if someone put them there to fill the void. Images? Felonia approached cautiously and sat down on the edge of the bed. They were like monsters. I don't know how to describe them. Kaz was in armor. David had some shadows behind him. There were corpses. Fire. Wait, hold on. Melody suddenly jolted upright. She seized the opportunity to get to the bottom of everything. Fel, please bring me my bag. I need to call Ruth. Felonia reluctantly complied, but she couldn't find the bag or the phone. The situation was somehow painfully familiar to Melody. It further agitated her. They took my phone! Hey! They better not start. They better not start. Do not make me rage. It further agitated her already frayed nerves. The solution appeared of its own accord. It happened so easily, as if it had been waiting to come out all along. Fel, I want to get out of here. Melody feared that Felonia would try to dissuade her or refuse her request outright. She was afraid that if she pulled the curtains, she would find bars on the windows. She was afraid that when Fel went out of the door, she would hear the sound of the key turning. But Felonia replied calmly and gently. Are you sure? Yes. Alright then. Out. Talk to Mikhail. You get ready, alright? Melody couldn't believe her ears. She quickly jumped out of bed. Her limbs responded with pain, as if they had been held underwater by force all night. Felonia followed close behind, gently taking Melody's arm to support her. The officer paused a few inches from the evaluator's face, then pursed her lips. Are you alright? Melody shook her head. She could barely hold back tears. No, she wasn't alright. And the worst part was that she didn't understand why. Right? Imagine going through it and you're like, why is this happening to me? Like, I don't even understand because somebody's freaking wiped my freaking memories and stole my phone. Change your clothes and I'll take you wherever you want to go. Oh, her eyes. After a moment's hesitation, Felonia added, if you have nowhere else to go, you can stay with me. Melody felt awkward about the offer. She remained silent. I don't want to be a burden. Snap thought of something else to say. The unspoken words froze on her face in a mask of worry. At least for a while. until everything settles down. Felonia's gaze slid down Melody's arms. For some reason, she stopped at the evaluator's wrist. Thank you, Fel. I have an apartment. It's on the other side of the city, though. That's alright. Change your clothes, Melody, and let's go. Once alone, Melody hurried to the wardrobe. It feels like a lifetime has passed since I crossed the threshold of Astrea. She changed to the first thing she could find. Let's see. Oh, that's nice. Okay. I love the sleeves. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. This is just cozy looking. Okay, don't take 10 years. Just go with something. We go. I'll fix my hair too. Okay. Oh. Yeah. Ooh. Where do we go? How do we go? I thought. I like this ponytail too. You know what? Yeah. Melody didn't dare to take the outfits David had given her. Her own belongings fit into her travel bag, which she hadn't managed to unpack completely. Always traveling light. Everything that was happening felt like another escape. From herself, from reality. And the thought of it made her sick. It seems like I spent my whole life running from something, or I've been chased by something my whole life. Soon Felonia returned, said that everything was settled, picked up the bag, and led Melody away from the house. In the apartment. The first thing Melody did was buy a new phone, and as soon as Felonia left her, she tried to call Ruth, but her friend didn't answer her calls or texts. So we're gonna stay on our own? That's not safe. Well, they must be watching over me. She could not remember Ruth's new address. The only mention of it was on her old phone, which they stole. I don't like any of this. After a day of anxious attempts, Melody called all of her few mutual friends. It turned out that Ruth had stopped keeping in touch with anyone but Melody after college. This news spurred Melody to act more decisively. She contacted the taxi service, then she asked to be connected with the driver who had filled the order placed with her phone number. The dispatcher was a friendly woman who promised to call her back. Once again, the apartment was filled with a thick, oppressive anticipation. I can try to restore her text messages. Melody spent hours trying to recover the lost data. She didn't even notice the day passing. With the evening came an unusual total silence and an unusual calm. It seemed that the horrors had truly remained within the walls of Astrea, but along with them, an important part of her remained there too. She thought about... It was completely unexpected, but she had turned out to be Melody's true savior. She accepted Melody's decision so easily, she even casually turned a blind eye to the evaluator's outburst. It's like she was ready for it. Melody didn't want to add Felonia to the list of people who frightened her. I had to stop thinking like everything is a conspiracy. She really wanted to call her text Fel, but at the same time, she didn't want to impose. She already spent so much time on me. The thought warmed her and kept her from sinking completely into despair. If only means more and more to you, she'd be happy about that. Evening suddenly turned to night. The chaotic day finally came to an end, along with a small but vivid part of her life. It feels like Astrea was just a dream. Strange, even eerie at times, but so captivating. The following days flew by in a blur. Each night brought fragments of memories in the bloody river. It was getting harder and harder to tell which were real and which were not. Raphael often appeared in her dreams. He'd hover like a ghost on the ceiling of her bedroom. He might be actually there. Moore visited her dreams even more often. He cut her and licked the blood from her wounds. Ugh. At times like this, Melody would wake in terror and struggle to get back to sleep. During the day, she cherished her peace as much as possible. She secretly longed for any mention of Astrea, but as if by conspiracy, all its inhabitants had vanished. All mention of the beast and his cult vanished with them. They let me go so easily. You wanted them to? I'm confused. You didn't want to be locked up? And now you're mad that they didn't fight more harder? You can't have it both ways. Like, you just can't. I'm sorry, that's not how that works. To avoid falling into depression, she focused on searching for Ruth. Like, I get where she's going with that still. Like, it was the third day, she had become obsessed. Not knowing what else to do, she decided to file a missing persons report. Melody was unable to recover her memory. She thought about what she would say to Fel. What information can I give her if I'm not even sure that our meeting was real? But she couldn't see any other way out. Then, before contacting Fel, she remembered another mutual acquaintance. Maybe I should call him Malik? Go for it. Melody rummaged through the depths of her bag to find Malik's business card. She dialed the number. She waited for the answering machine to beep. Malik, it's Melody. I'm sorry to call so late, but I really need to talk to you. Ruth is missing and I'm afraid something terrible has happened to her. Could you please call me back as soon as you can? Melody hung up and pursed her lips. See your message and you will surely meet again. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. Maybe they're together somewhere? The unexpected thought brought... Oh, hope or annoyance. I'd personally be pretty pissed off if they were hanging out somewhere together. It's like, buddy, pick a side. She couldn't stifle the strange feeling. She didn't want to think that Ruth and Malik might be busy with each other. And truly they could find a minute to respond to me. And Melody brewed some coffee and sat on the edge of the windowsill. She looked at the gray, dreary landscape outside. A half-dead tree surrounded by concrete and metal reminded her of the garden in Astrea. She closed her eyes and tried to picture herself in her old bedroom. Tried to feel a fresh breeze, but instead she felt her own loneliness with renewed force. No matter how hard Melody tried, she couldn't get the agency out of her head. Why? Do I want to go back? Do I want to figure out what happened? I don't understand. Do I want to go back? Do I want to figure out what happened? Do I want to go back? It feels like I was happy there, despite everything I went through. For a moment, she felt like all her fears were unfounded. They can't actually be responsible for my memory lapse, can they? And they certainly can't have anything to do with my dreams. Anyway, I have to move on. I thought the future were interrupted by a phone call. The unfamiliar number turned out to be the taxi driver's. The man apologized for the long wait and nervously asked what she needed information about the village. They already got to him. He asked if she had been in touch with the police. The driver complained that he had spent too much time at the station because of her. Molly didn't know what he was getting at. She managed to get the dress from him and nervously said goodbye. The driver's mood rubbed off on her. Her hands trembled. Something bad happened. Something the police knew about. Wouldn't Felonia have told me? Melody berated herself for not reading the news sooner, all to protect her fragile mental health. She opened her browser application. Typed in the name of the village and her breath caught in her throat. The news was on the front page of every single news website. The headline roared across the country. The bloodiest incident in the country's history. Oh my gosh. They're in so much trouble. All residents of the burned down village were inhumanely blinded by fire. How do they know? What do you mean? Hundreds are in critical condition. Dozens remain missing. None of the survivors can explain what happened. Those who can speak have gone mad. Police have asked anyone with information about the incident to come forward. Why didn't Phil tell me anything? You were kind of in a crazy state and you didn't ask. Melody felt betrayed and deceived again, so she decided not to call Phil. On that one's kind of dumb. Because, like, you woke up acting all crazy, like, I don't know what happened. Well, to be fair, she knew what happened at the place that she could. Yeah, that was her avenue to her. Okay, that's fair. That's fair, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that's fair. She did say that she wanted to know what was going on. Days she began calling hospitals. She hoped to find Ruth's name on the list of admitted patients, but she wasn't on any of them. Well, I mean, at the same time, though, Felony would have the most information. At this point, she would owe her an answer. So you think you would call just for that, instead of sitting here doing stupid research where you could just call them and ask. Like, you don't have to be friends. Just ask for the information they clearly owe you. What's a minute? I was getting worked up, so I started coughing. She wasn't letting any. The walls of her apartment began to close in. They pressed down on her. Melody gave into panic and jumped to her feet. She absentmindedly squeezed her forearm and immediately responded with a strange pain. Didn't Felony look down at her wrist for some reason? It was a dull and weak pain, like a healed fracture, like an old wound reminding her of its existence after some time. Did I get injured? Something terrible and unspeakably large was rising from the depths of her memory. Not images, just feelings. Pain flared and faded all over her body like flashes of sunlight. The pain in her right forearm spread to her left. She felt as if the skin on her face was stretching and cracking. Am I losing my mind? Pain with no apparent source consumed her in hysteria. Why did they think that this was a good idea? Like, they really pissed me off with this one. I hate when people take away people's choices and their ability to deal with it because they decided someone can't handle something, and like she's going crazy anyway. Like, that's so wild. I can't. I guess they wanted to wipe her memory because it would be worse if she had to then deal with the higher ups, I guess, that come down on top of everything else. But come on, this is crazy. You could at least just checked in on her or something. Like, I know she's scared of them, but like, I don't know. It really does make it look like they don't care. But at the same time, I think she's silly to expect them to fight for her to stay. I don't. She wanted to rip off her skin to run again, but this time from herself. This will never end. Melody burst out of the building. She breathed in the cold air greedily. I don't like her being out at night, but I mean, even if she doesn't remember what happened that night, she remembers about the beast trying to kill her, right? A gentle wind brushed over her with his icy breath as if trying to bring her back to her senses. The deserted street was tactfully silent and sympathetic. Something inside her snapped. A realization spread through her body. I can't handle this alone. The first image that came to mind was her mother. No matter how difficult their lives were, she'd always tried to be an involved parent in Melody, as much as her father would allow. How I wish that things had turned out differently. As if hearing her unspoken plea, the universe decided to grant her some company. Here we go. A short man emerged from an alley and shuffled in her direction. Melody's entire body tensed. She stepped out of the way to let the passerby through, but he stopped in front of her. He stared silently into her eyes and moved his hands, which were hidden in his pockets. That's when you move. In fact, when he stopped, you should have kept moving. If he stopped and didn't say anything, you move it. Calm. It seemed that her mind was being tired of being afraid. It had finally accepted the reality that Melody would never be safe. The world has turned upside down, and my mind is starting to turn with it. Her voice sounded surprisingly calm and steady. What do you want? Money. This isn't a cult member, a demon, or a monster. It's just a mugger. Melody was almost in tears of relief. She reached for her pockets. She realized that she didn't have her wallet with her. Not only that, but she didn't even lock the door to her apartment when she left. I don't have any money on me. Her relief quickly evaporated when the man grabbed her shoulder roughly. He dragged her toward the alley. Melody squeaked in surprise. She prepared to resist as much as she could. Don't you dare scream. That's when you scream. There was no time for Melody to realize the gravity of the situation. As his atmosphere was interrupted by a soft, weary voice. Get away from her. The hapless robber proved to be surprisingly wise. He didn't need to be told twice. Melody didn't bother to look where he was going. All her attention was focused on Cassio, who had appeared out of nowhere. Let's go inside, Melody. We need to talk. Okay. Melody looked at the man sitting in a chair as if he were a ghost. She fought the urge to make sure he was real. She really wanted to touch his hand. In the first second of their meeting, she even wanted to hug him. You're about to burn a hole in me with that stare of yours. How did you end up here? Were you following me? I was watching over you. Melody didn't know how to react to this information, so she asked a less important question. Why you of all people? Not just me. All of us. We take turns watching over you. Casso interlocked his fingers and began to look around her apartment. Nice little place. Melody didn't go along with his attempt to change the subject. She continued her interrogation. What do you mean, watching over? Is that even legal? Did you want them to leave you to your own devices when people were trying to kill you? Once again, you were mad that you were scared they wouldn't let you go. You're mad that they didn't fight harder to keep you. Now you're mad again that it appears that they actually did. Lord. Get it together, child. Did you really think that we would just leave you alone after everything that happened? Yes, Mikhail made it clear to everyone that your nerves were frayed and you needed to calm down. But the cultists are not going to give you a break. Calm down? Do you think I'm overreacting or something? I really hope not. I'm not good at calming people down when they're being irrational. Casso didn't let her pursue the topic any further. Instead, he said in a much softer tone, It's a shame that you're having this conversation with me and not someone else. Mikhail would have handled this much better, but since I'm here... Cassio stumbled over his words, and he finally squeezed them out succinctly. Come back. Her heart skipped a treacherous beat. Melody barely held back the urge to agree, but she shook her head. I can't. I'm losing my mind in that house. Well, maybe I can answer the questions that have been troubling you. I can try. Ask about the village, ask about the cult, tell him about my fears. How many of these do I get to do? Hey, I never know which one's going to end the conversation. I think most importantly, just tell him about how she's feeling. Ask about the village. Have you heard about the village that was burned down? You must have. Yes. I was there, but I don't remember what happened to me. How did I get home? Where's Ruth? Raphael saved you from the fire. I don't know where your friend is. What you saw likely shocked you and your brain decided to protect you. Oop, lies. Oh, I don't like it. I hate it. You're the doctor, not me. Surely there's a scientific explanation for this? What was Raphael doing there? Cassio sighed heavily and brushed off her question. Maybe you should ask him yourself. Fine. Try. Okay, maybe I can ask them all. I haven't encountered any cult followers since I left. Yes, they often appear in my dreams, but no one knocks on my door. Do you think we made it all up? Some drunk nearly killed you and you still doubt the reality of the danger? But he clearly wasn't a follower of the beast. Melody, maybe you didn't hear me, but we're watching over you. Of course you haven't encountered them. If we really decided to leave you alone, you'll definitely run into your old acquaintances. I wouldn't want that. Honestly, I left because I was scared. Of us? Yes. Melody saw no point in lying, like they're doing. She decided to lay all her cards on the table, like they're not doing. You've been haunting my dreams. At night, I see a bloody river. I hear a voice that says it's your doing. I dream about the followers of the beast. A bloody river? A river in the sky, all in blood. And you were all there in strange forms. That night, these seemed to be your true faces. I know it sounds strange, but I couldn't stay near you that morning. Cassio seemed to understand. He nodded slowly and offered a solution. We'll help you remember everything that happened. Little by little. Alright? Alright. Melody realized that Cassio was waiting for her response. She tried to buy some more time. Maybe I can talk with him some more? These scenes are so goofy, but I love them so much. Oh, but when I saw the picture in the beginning again, I noticed that Malik didn't have anything by him, but in the corner with Mikhail, it was actually some flowers, like the ones that we see in the garden for Astrea. So that was in his corner. Still don't know what any of that means, but there's stuff there. I really have a lot of questions. What's going on with the mouth? How are you doing? The simple question brought a confused look to his face. We haven't seen each other in a while. I'm curious. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. The joy of meeting him quickly faded into his terse demeanor. Suppose it's his special talent, ruining the moment. But after a few seconds, Cassio spoke again. It's unusually quiet without you around. And here I thought the house was finally returning to its former quiet without me, just like you want it. For some reason, Cassio didn't joke along this time. He replied with an unexpected seriousness. The house feels empty without you, Melody. He caught himself and frowned. And frankly, I'm tired of hanging around under your window like some kind of stalker. Are you talking about my apartment or the bedroom at Astrea? Very funny. His disgruntled expression naturally brought a familiar smile to her face. That's the Cassio I guess I really missed. But the next question quickly wiped it from her face. Has anyone bothered you here? No, just bad dreams. I'm afraid I can't protect you from dreams. Is he being serious right now? The way he said it without any sarcasm struck a chord. Is he really sorry about that? Suddenly, she desperately wanted to change the subject and finally get him to relax. Actually, you can. Excuse me? After that meeting, you appeared in my dreams for 2 nights in a row. After which meeting? The very first one. Remember when you met me on the doorstep? You yelled at me and tried to keep me away from Mikkel? I think I actually told you where his office was. Molly struggled to hold back her laughter. She replied in all seriousness. Yes, but first you were rude and almost made me cry. You're joking, right? Unable to resist, Molly laughed out loud. Oh my god, of course I'm joking. What you did just annoyed me. I barely stopped myself from pushing you down the stairs. Very charming of you. But I've done it a million times in my dreams. So every time we clash, it rather reliably keeps me from having nightmares. Castiel smiled in response. I'm always happy to help. What kind of dreams do you have? I don't have dreams, Melody. Really? That's a shame. That's not a shame. I hate dreaming. I think it's for the best. I can't handle being attacked by you in dreams, too. Molly rolled her eyes and decided to change the subject after all. Cup of coffee. I'm hungry. Sorry, it's a random thought. I just love cup. For some reason, she really wanted to stay alone with Castiel a little longer. Somehow, he didn't rush her or demand a quick decision. Maybe you'd like some coffee? Castiel nodded and tried to adopt a more relaxed posture. He fidgeted in the not-so-comfortable chair and put his hands on his knees. Then he clasped them together again. It looked awkward. He could use a massage and a vacation. As she prepared to drink, Melody felt his thoughtful gaze on her back. She tried to think of what to ask and how to start the conversation. It seemed like any slightly serious topic would put him on guard. And she didn't feel like joking anymore. But I don't know what else to say. Melody held the cup and sat down across from him. She left her hand on the table and softly tapped the smooth surface with her fingertips. Actually, silence isn't bad either. And Castiel suddenly broke the silence himself. You really scared us all. When I left? Castiel slowly sipped his hot coffee before answering. Yes. When you left. I thought I'd never see you again. And that thought hasn't left my mind since. Melody wanted to remind him that they had her phone number and apparently her address, but she remained silent. It seemed like Castiel wasn't talking about that at all. I'm not so easy to get rid of. I wish I could believe that. Melody was unsure how to respond. She looked into his melancholy eyes. She tried to understand what he meant. You're certainly stronger than I thought. But somehow, knowing that makes me want to protect you even more. It's like your strength is my weakness. Why? Because you don't hide behind my back when you need to. And I can't make you believe that the world really is dangerous because I don't want to scare you. And looking at you now, for the first time, I find that I simply don't know what to do. Her hand unconsciously reached across the table toward him. It covered his hand as it held his cup. It's hard for me to trust people. It's hard for me to believe what you believe. But if you're by my side, I'll try. I promise. To avoid embarrassing him any further, Melody removed her hand. She noticed a slight wistfulness in his gaze. Maybe we could have coffee at Astrea sometime? Definitely sometime. After their brief conversation, the silence became much more comfortable. Castiel finished his coffee, leisurely in a cozy stillness. Despite her protest, he washed the cup himself. Thank you, Melody. Castiel really missed you. The twitching eyebrow. How are the others doing? After some thought, Castiel replied reluctantly. Raphael has become even more withdrawn. David is always off somewhere. Mikkel is trying to sort some things out. Goodness, it sounds quite gloomy over there. Castiel smiled and tried to defend his colleagues. It was always like this before you. Sounds sad. Is that why you really want me back? No. It's also because of your professional skills. Melody rolled her eyes. She barely stopped herself from giving him a playful punch in the shoulder. I hope you're being serious right now. Of course I am. And how's Axel doing? I built a McKinnell like you asked. Did you like it? No. Melody laughed. She didn't admit the silliness of the idea. Thanks anyway. You're welcome. We're all waiting for you at home, Melody. Home. Head back. Melody realized that she probably wouldn't get answers to her questions on her own. Yeah. So she gave in. I think a conversation with Mikhail wouldn't hurt. Besides, it wasn't just her mind that was drawn to the walls of Astrea. It was her heart, too. How did this even happen? Then let's go. This time, Melody decided not to bring her back. First, I'll see how I feel when I cross the threshold of Astrea. Then I'll decide what to do. Melody looked at the gloomy mansion. She hesitated, just like the first day. She barely forced herself to take a step. I'll figure it out. I'll find out what's real in my dreams and what's fantasy. I'll talk to Raphael. She swallowed her fear and tried to calm her pounding heart. At least, I'll try to talk to him. Melody rested her growing anxiety and kept her head down. She didn't want to look up and meet the eyes of any of their residents. Hello, Mikhail, greet me. Cassio suddenly stopped in front of Melody and she almost bumped into him. She exclaimed in annoyance. Why did you stop so suddenly? Cassio didn't take his eyes off the windows of the house. He frowned even more than usual. Our superiors are here. Okay, you can take me back home. Y'all can deal with that and, invite me back when you're done. And that's very bad, Melody. Okay. Okay, interesting. Don't fully appreciate the way that the guys are handling the situation. But it's not unexpected from their personality. At least it's not out of left field. So it still tracks with the personality that they've shown thus far. And so that's fine. And they're still on the journey. So I think I'm okay. It looks like things are not going to take too much longer to come out. I don't know. Because things already been hinted at, and with the way that she is right now, I don't think that they can hang on too much longer without giving her some sort of facts. But we'll see. Wow, okay. Oh, that was a lot. I've been recording for a while, about an hour and 30 minutes. Goodness gracious. But I wanted to make sure that I saw all the different scenes because I feel like it's important to get all the different sides. I feel like we learn so much more about the story. Like, story unwound in a lot of different ways when you get more and you get more the depth of all the different characters. So I feel so much more well-rounded. It's like when we hear like little comments about, David and his past and the kind of sort of the darkness going on there, or Raphael being, withdrawn and stuff like that. And it explains more we can see more of the coldness about Mikhail. It makes it all more, you know what I mean? I don't know. So I like seeing it from all the angles. So I think I definitely will continue to play the save file for each of the characters because they're all very, very interesting in their own way. And so far, I enjoy all of them. Even the ones I thought that I never would enjoy, like Cassio and David. I am still enjoying them. So yeah. But anyway, I like the story. So I'm so excited and. Yeah, I can't wait to see where we go from here. Although I'm pretty sure the superiors that are coming down, they're going to piss me off. They're absolutely going to piss me off. I already know. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and show the button, like button, some love, subscribe, see more content like this. And I will see you next time. Bye.